Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, this is Redberry here, and welcome back to another Civil Air Patrol video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about ES and identifying natural hazards, which is a F&P item within GTM3. If you haven't checked out my other videos, they are linked in the iCard. So let's get started. There are natural hazards everywhere, and there are a few specific things that you would want to keep in mind. So let's go over different things that we might want to look out for. One of them is terrain. So if you are in a very steep area, like the slope is very extreme wherever you're going places, making sure you are mindful of where you're stepping and making sure that you maintain 3 points of contact on the ground if it's extremely steep, and making sure that you are taking all measures under account when you are trying to maintain balance and safely go from one point to another. That's a good thing to keep in mind. There's also glyphs, and by using your topographic map, you can identify if there are steeper areas of terrain or like if there are cliffs or anything like that. And so by being informed, you can also make sure that your team is going on a path that has the least resistance in terms of terrain, unless you're like specifically assigned like on a hasty search or a line search somewhere. Just be careful. Next, there are floodplains, which you would want to avoid if possible. Most times they will try not to assign you, and it's typically marked on the topographic map where those are located. And sometimes if there's a huge rain while you're out searching, that can become a huge problem where you might become stuck somewhere because of just like the enormous amount of water that's coming towards you. So that can be very dangerous. So let's avoid floodplains. There's also rough terrain, so if there's lots of rocks and everything everywhere, just adjust your movement speed as needed with your team to make sure that everyone can traverse it safely. So you're probably familiar with poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. You may not have them natively in your area. Like for me, I don't have one of those, or I think two of those natively to me, but the like poison ivy is like the gloves, and it's like leaves of 3. Let it be. With the poison oak, it looks sort of like an oak leaf, but it's a little bit more rounded, so just watch out for those. And then sumac, they kind of look like beech tree leaves a little bit, and they have berries on them too sometimes, so just be aware that there are things out there that will make you all itchy if you run into them, and we don't want that to happen. And some people can have more extreme allergic reactions than others. So while you are traversing the forest or while you're traversing the terrain, wherever you may be, watch the ground and make sure you're wearing those long ABU, BDU pants. Like, your uniform has long pants for a reason, and you're wearing boots so that you can protect your legs. Let's talk about animals. So there are all sorts of animals out in the wilderness. So there could be bears, there could be black, there could be brown, there could be cougars, there could be foxes or raccoons, there could be squirrels, there could be snakes. Let's just avoid those things in general. So in terms of rodents in the animal category, just give them space. Like, don't run up to a skunk that you see, because that is not a smart thing to do. Just please use your common sense with those things. And I say use your common sense, and people are like, not everyone has common sense. But just please don't pursue them, don't interact with them. They could have rabies, they could make you stink. So let's just avoid those in general, shall we? Okay, next I'll talk about insects. So the main ones that you might want to watch out for are wasps, bees, fire ants, mosquitoes, anything like that. So if you see a nest somewhere, like right next to where you might be spending the night, make sure you communicate that with your staff or like the leadership there, because they will flag it off. You don't want people camping and walking around next to a bee's nest, because that, or a beehive, because that will potentially end in bad things. Like, some people are allergic to bees, and they should have their EpiPen on them, yes, and we just don't want people to get close to them, please. So wear bug spray if you want to have the bugs not flying around your head all the time. I normally spray like a circle on my cover and on the brim as well. I'll take it off my head and I'll do it that way so I don't get it into my eyes. Please use bug spray safely, and then make sure I get my arms and my legs. There are also like ticks and chiggers that you need to watch out for, and there are things called gators, which you can put like between where your pants leg is and your boot, which will protect you a little bit more from those like creepy crawlies that will climb up your leg and try to bite you. They aren't 100% effective, but it's really good for putting bug spray on, really layering it on, and trying to keep you safe from those creepy crawlies. So there are 2 poisonous spiders within the United States. There is the brown recluse and the black widow. And if you're not familiar with them, here's some pictures of the spiders. Please don't pursue them, and I don't recommend like getting all freaky while they're on you, because they could bite you before you can do anything, and that would not end well. So just like calmly remove them. Like you could use a piece of paper or something and just kind of like get under them and scoop them off. Just be careful when that happens. So there are other types of spiders out there, but they really aren't fatal. They could hurt a lot, but they typically aren't fatal. So just make sure you are aware of your surroundings. If you see a spider on someone, just be nice and help them out, and try to remain calm. I know some people have arachnophobia, but please remain calm if possible. Did you know that more people die from bee and wasp stings than from snakes? Well, still, it's a lot of people. Like, I think out of every 7,500 cases, 10 people die from snakes. Just let's avoid snakes. So there are 2 different kinds of poisonous snakes in the United States. There's pit vipers and neurotoxic snakes. So pit vipers have like a little pit between the eyes that can allow you to identify them. And then they also have fangs that they use to inject their victim with poison. And then the difference between those 2, like the neurotoxic and the pit vipers, is that the neurotoxic one actually affects the nervous system of its victim versus being carried through the bloodstream. So the snakes that you should avoid as much as possible are the copperheads, the rattlesnakes, the coral snakes, and the water moccasins. To avoid snakes, just don't go under logs and rocks. Most of the time they're just sitting underneath things and they're just chilling, so they aren't going to bother you. Once I was like going for a run and I saw a rat snake just kind of slithering, and then it sat on the street, and I thought it was a bike tire that had like popped or something, and so I stepped over it, and because I hadn't seen it slithering around. And rat snakes are okay. They don't really care. But if it were something more dangerous, we might have had a problem. So at least we avoided that. In terms of your evaluation for this section, you should be able to identify what things look like that are dangerous in your region, or at least natural hazards that you would commonly find in your area. It's good to be aware of all of them, but at least be able to identify like what a poisonous snake looks like versus a not poisonous snake, or what a black widow or brown recluse might look like. So just try to review the pictures that I've shown, and hopefully that will help. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, just let me know. That is all, folks. Until next time, toodles.